Hello, good people. This is Spot of Nerd, and Happy New Year. It is 2026, and it's super early in the morning, but I'm a night owl, and this is what we do, and maybe eventually we will start doing this more earlier in the daytime. But before we get started, because I don't want to screw up like I tend to do with these things, I'm going to check that this, of course, has volume. Uh, that's the only time I actually enjoy hearing my own voice, is that way I know this shit's at least working. So, gonna cut this kind of short, simple. Maybe not this first episode or day, but throughout time, no pun intended. We will be making these things a little bit shorter, longer, depending on what we're talking about, because fireworks are still going off at 2 in the morning here, and yeah, it is January 1st, 2026, so, like I say, Happy New Year. I also wanna try something different with this aspect, so, because again, I'm learning more how to use this stuff, this equipment, the, Rumble Studio, so, if I were to say, like, "Let's start the show." I think that might have worked. I'm only gonna f I'm laughing because the only way I'm gonna find this out is when I go back and potentially rewatch this, so maybe that worked, I don't know, we'll find out, and then I'm gonna try when we finish this video to put in the logo where I'm sipping the cup, but, yeah, anyway, I'm gonna try something we've never done before on this channel, and I very, very much doubt that I will keep it up for a whole year, but I'm actually gonna try and go live and post a new video every single day in 2026. Never done it before. I pretty much can guarantee I will not get through 365 days, but I figured why not? Let's give it a try. You know what I mean? The editing is gonna be shit. The video, like the title pages are gonna be shit. So do not expect anything glorified or whatever it is visually on the channel. But hey, I figured let's get some content out there because there is a shit ton to talk about, which ironically, what is that word? Some word where I'm reversing what I just said. There's a lot to talk about when it comes to Minnesota and the Somalians, the daycare centers, the $9 billion fraudulent activity that is currently going on over there. And then we got to talk about Stranger Things. Yes, I did finish it up. The final episode premiered yesterday, finished it today, but ultimately, Stranger Things went full Game of Thrones season 8. And now I can say that because I've officially watched the whole series of Game of Thrones. Like I rewatched it, and then of course we just finished up with Stranger Things. Sweet mother of God, that has got to be truly one of the biggest piles of dog shit I have ever watched in my entire life. So let's just talk about it real quick. If you're unaware, which very few might not be, or you might not, blah, 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 blah. Stranger Things decided to finish its 5th season today, New Year's Eve. Yeah, yesterday, but today, blah, 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 whatever it is. Holy shit, did they go full dumb shit? Full dumb shit. Not just from the last episode. Like, again, if you're new to the channel, if you've never seen this before, I have to be careful because I enjoy having a paycheck. I really do enjoy having a paycheck. So you can imagine there are some things that I won't necessarily. It's not that I won't talk about it, but I'll kind of go around it to where you'll know what I'm talking about. I just won't be very specific. So the previous episode 7, there was a certain scene that basically made it the lowest rated episode in the entire series. I've said this before, I've said it 1,000 times. I am a big fan of Stranger Things. right up until that very moment. Basically, right up until season 5. Season 5 has been truly one of the biggest piles of dog ass I've ever witnessed in my entire life. I do not understand how you go from season 4, which to me was incredible. The story writing, the way they filmed it, the way they were taking the direction of Vecna and the group, it was incredible. Even like they actually killed people. They killed off Eddie. They killed off a whole bunch of people in the most gruesome way possible. Then you get this finale. Now, without going into 2 hours of this finale, let's just break it down real quick. Absolutely nothing different happened. I've mentioned this with the Avatar, Fire and Ash. It's the same damn movie. We are literally watching the same damn movie, and with Stranger Things, it's the same damn season 4, but in a 2-hour episode. The but it's not even just that, it's what it comes down to is the sheer lack of emotion, the sheer lack of care, the sheer lack of every single ounce of love and passion that made this show great just thrown in the trash. It really, really is, and not only just that, but here's some major spoilers for you. It's a 2-hour episode, this finale, for the entire series. They obviously try to scare you into believing that they've killed off Elle, killed off 11, but of course, she doesn't die, or at least according to the Duffer Brothers who made the series, they're gonna leave it up to you to decide whether you believe 11 is dead or not. It's just the dumbest, like, it was predictable as shit because the moment they brought back the illusion gal, so again, spoiler if you haven't watched it, the beginning of season 5, they brought back the chick from season 2 where she could, kind of produce hallucinations to where you're seeing stuff that you're not, blah, 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 blah. You knew the moment they brought her back, they were gonna do some sort of fake out where they were gonna kill her off, but they're not gonna kill her because that's just how this story ends. And they don't kill a single main cast member at all in this entire series, in this entire season 5. It's mind-boggling to me just how much of an opportunity they had to kill off major characters, but they just decided not to. So again, you're watching this entire series, and then you're watching this last episode, and you're wondering, is anybody gonna die? Is and they try to, of course, give you some little tidbits here and there about like, oh, you know, the good looking, I forget his name, Harrington falls off the big tower, but oh no, is he gonna die? Of course he's not gonna die. Is 11 gonna die? No, of course she's not gonna die. Is Hopper gonna die? No, of course Hopper's not gonna die. Then if you even get to the point where 11 and Vecna obviously have this match between the two of each other to find, who is the ultimate champion of them all. And he basically gets staked through the heart, literally staked through the heart, Vecna. And at the end of it, he's still alive. He's still gurgling blood. He's still looking at him like, I'm still alive, blah, 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 like the whole group. And it wasn't until Mrs. Byers comes out and chops his literal head off that he finally dies. But it doesn't stop there, folks, because that's the first hour of this last episode. The last hour of the episode is, of course, this giant Lord of the Rings finale where you have 28 endings. Of course, every single main cast member has to have their ending, and the ending has absolutely nothing to do with their overall story arc, other than the fact that we have to end the show with a Dungeon and Dragons game because, of course, the sister's going to take over with her friends because that would be not the way to do it, even though it is the way you should do it. But it's so cliche that we already knew you were going to do it from the start. It just is tragic. I think that's ultimately what I can say about this finale of Stranger Things. It's just tragic in a way that they could have done so much, not only with these characters, not only with this story. If you've seen the series and you watch season 4 set up one of the most amazing finales in this series that you could have possibly imagined. Vecna, he's obviously split open Hawkins, it's apocalyptic world in the real world, and everything just gets kind of thrown to the wayside with season 5. Yeah, the Upside Down, it's just kind of a bridge between this place and, like, hell. Oh, and by the way, hell, apparently you can breathe oxygen in, just an FYI. That's one of my favorite parts, if you can hear the tone of sarcasm in my voice. I love the fact that when they are able to go to hell, this new dimension, apparently you can just breathe oxygen, and when you have this ginormous Godzilla monster thing that you have to try and attack, yeah, just basic ass fire and bullets are able to stop it because, these little children are able to stop Godzilla. It's not a military, it's not high velocity technologically advanced weapons. No, it's children. Children stop this thing. Yep, totally, totally okay with that. Yeah, no issues whatsoever. Jesus, people. It's it's to finalize my thought on this, and odds are we'll talk about this more. I'll bring some guests on, hopefully. I'll bring Richard in. I'll bring Alberto in. The reality of it is, with Stranger Things officially over now, it just you kind of almost what you thought was a great show, and like I said, I thought Stranger Things was a great show. I really did. I now kind of think it's just kind of shit. I really, really do. Like it I guess the best way I can also do, and I know I'm going in 1,000 tangents. By the way, if you're new to the channel, we go on 1,000 tangents. I repeat myself a lot. It's a broken record. It's what we do. It's Spot of Nerd. But again, you've spent 4 seasons on the Upside Down, on Vecna, on the Dreamscapes, on the Mind Melds, and everything else, and you just throw it all away in a couple episodes in the final season. It just is tragic. I've said that before, I'll say it 1,000 times again. It's tragic because this was something amazing. The show was truly inspiring in relation to the fact that this was something new, something different in the sci-fi world in terms of television. And they just threw it down the toilet like you just had a Taco Bell Tuesday. It's just tragic. It's horrible. And I'll kinda leave it with there, but just I know you're gonna watch it if you are a Stranger Things fan. I know you're gonna watch the finale. I'd love to know your thoughts. Throw them down in the comments. Give me the thumbs up, the likes, the comments, the whole 9 yards, because I can't be the only one. I cannot be the only one who thought this was absolute dog shit and probably some of the worst television streaming to ever exist. It really is that bad. So, we'll leave it there. We'll move on to the next portion of today's live edition, or something rather. We're going to, of course, talk about fraud. We're going to talk about I should say, actually, yes, because again, I have to be very careful here. I'm going to talk about the alleged fraud that is currently happening in Minnesota, even though that allegedly billions upon billions of dollars have gone missing from daycares allegedly that are created to take care of children. And I can actually speak to this because I think if there's one thing in 2026 that I really am going to kind of be a little more open to, is I've said this before. I'm going to say it 1,000 times again. It's a broken record, is what we do. It's Spot of Nerd. I'm going to be a little more blunt and honest. I'm going to do it in a way that I hope, touch wood, I keep my paycheck. But again, having lived in Washington, there's also now this new story around all this fraudulent activity going on in Minnesota, specifically with Somali daycares. This is occurring now in Washington state. And I can speak to that because obviously, having lived there, I can pretty much guarantee you what they're finding is absolutely correct. I don't have any proof. I don't have any sway in that regard. I simply have my own observation. Now, again, this is all alleged, and I want to be very clear about that. In a moment, we'll kind of go through some of these these live streams we do. We're going to go through some of my social media just to kind of show you guys, again, just as a heads up. I don't have any say between what anybody else says. I'm simply showing you what I see. I'm not saying I align with those viewpoints or opinions. I am simply just showing you this is what's popping up on my feed. It's just what it is. It's social media. So if you know me or if you know the channel, you hopefully know where I align on a lot of these agendas, ideals, news, media, blah, 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 blah. But coming back to my point, what I'm getting at is having been in Washington before, I remember, I mean, just over the last, gosh, I mean, 10 years, 20 years, look at this monorail system that Seattle has built. There a monorail system? Yeah, absolutely. Goes from Seattle, it goes to Renton, it goes north, south, east, west, whatever it is, and it's gonna be expanding from there. But ask yourself, why is Washington still standing at around $4.50 a gallon for gasoline when the rest of the country is at $3 or below? But you also the reason I bring up this monorail is because, again, just don't quote me on this, just from what I remember reading, Seattle, of course, has already just signed off on one of the largest middle class tax increases in state history. Yet, this monorail, number one, hasn't been completed. Number two, barely half of it is in service. And number three, they're asking, I think, for another 2 dozen billion dollars, which again, words don't make, but about, I think it's like 24 to 25 billion more dollars to complete the project, which of course should have been completed by now, but won't be completed for another few years. So, from what I gather, now I work and I've worked in places that, this monorail stations have been and things like that. And I think I've seen one or two people actually use it. So, where the fuck is the money going? Just recently, again, we'll see if we can, you know what we'll do? Let's kind of pause and we'll get to where I'm going with that. I'll give you an example. Yeah, let me screen share this here. Hold on a second. Do 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 do. That's Instagram. So let's go ahead. I actually wanted to screen share my X account here. Let's see. Yes. Okay. And then let me get rid of this banner thing so you guys can see my beautiful face because it is a beautiful face. But anyway, so there's this kid, Nick, I'm sure you probably heard of him if you're not familiar with this kid. This kid has basically given more information from a journalistic standpoint in 24 hours than pretty much the entire media combined over the spectrum of years. Because let's be very honest, this fraudulent activity has not been just the last week. This has been going on for years. And I speak to that again, going back to my monorail aspect in Washington state, because again, number one, there's money, there's billions upon billions of dollars that, quite frankly, you got to really start asking yourself, where is it really being used for what it needs to be? Because my personal opinion, I believe Washington State to be similar to a demilitarized zone. I wouldn't step 10 miles within a 10-mile radius of downtown simply due to the fact that it is covered in human excrement, needles, and God knows what else. But also the fact that, quite frankly, if you're not carrying around here, and by mean carrying legally, safely, it's scary. It's a very scary place here. So, my whole point around all of this is simply the fact that this is just the tip of what we're I don't know how to describe it best because it's very early in the morning. My brain can't really function in that regard, but this is just the tip of the iceberg in relation to a level of fraud I don't think American culture, society, blah, 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 can comprehend. I really, really don't, because this kid in 24 hours basically showed the world that there is millions upon tens of hundreds of, I think it was like hundreds of millions, at least tens of millions of dollars that are being fraudulently taken out of the taxpayer pockets. And you got to really start asking yourself, why are you not pissed off? I'm not advocating violence. Let's be very clear. I've said this 1,000 times and I will say it 1,000 times in the future. I'm not advocating for wars. I'm not advocating for violence. I'm not advocating for disrespect, hatred, the whole nine yards. What I am advocating for is every time I look at my paycheck and I see half of it going outside of my pocket to the world that I see that is just crumbling before my very eyes, metaphorically and literally, I get really pissed off because this kid is exposed to us pretty much what we already know is that there is a level of corruption that we haven't even begun to witness. We haven't even begun to comprehend. So you have to really start looking in the mirror and asking yourself, number one, what the actual fuck? But number two, when are we going to start doing something about it? And again, to be clear, doing something about it doesn't mean violence. It doesn't mean hatred. Does it mean stop paying for your taxes? Maybe. I don't know. Because quite frankly, if you look at it right now, your taxes ain't doing shit. 90% is going to these fraudulent activity things, agenda items, or whatever you want to call it. And I was looking this up, and you can look this information up yourself too. The welfare states, because I was reading up Rippaverse. He is, of course, another one of the big channels that I follow. It's a comic book creator, part of the Nerdrotic universe, guys, things like that. And he made a valid point where when it comes to this welfare state, think about it. Minnesota alone, the Somali population, there's over 80% of that population alone is using the welfare state in some forms, food stamps, housing, etc. 80% are using the welfare state. You can't fix it. That's what it comes down to. You legitimately cannot fix this issue by just changing X, Y, or Z. You have to abolish it. You have to literally dismantle it and start over. Is it going to hurt some people? Absolutely. And I don't wish that. But you have to do something about it because fixing it is not going to happen. And at the same time, my final thought regarding it, you can't just put it to the wayside. You cannot put it to the wayside and just assume everybody's going to just say, well, I guess we better move on to the next thing. No. This is the line in the sand between enough is enough, and if this is how it's just gonna be, then what's the fucking point? And I will let you fill in XYZ, whatever. Again, the Duffer Brothers on. I will let you put your mind in whatever aspect you like in that regard to whether or not 11 is dead or not. Who gives a shit? But it's just it so many words, so many things, but kind of going down to we're gonna switch gears again. I know sometimes this stuff can get a little bit like, oh my god, shut the fuck up. But yeah, we had Avengers Doomsday trailers, which absolutely nobody gives a shit about. Apparently too, it's coming out in December. Like, let's be honest, when this shit's a year away, oh, I'm not following Disparu. I better be following him. I need to follow that dude. He's actually a really cool guy. Let's see. Tim Pool. It's wild how Stranger Things was set to become a major new IP universe, but Netflix made it lame and gay. Can't deny that. Oh, this is beautiful. I'm gonna see if the sound will play on this, but obviously with New Year's, CNN always they'll put somebody on there that they should never have done. And quite frankly, I saw this before. So let me see if I can play this with the video. With noise. Hang on a second. You're gonna love this.
Best place to meet a man in 2026.
Oh, really? Well, where's a good place to meet a man? I'd say in the ladies' room, but I don't know. Where can you meet a man? Maybe.
Best place.
I mean, come on. You gotta laugh. If you're not laughing, just go touch some grass. Seriously. Look, good old Portland being Portland. And yeah, honestly, I don't like I see stuff like this all the time where, like it says, people are fed up with refusing to not being able to live in peace. And I don't blame them. I really, really don't. So, ooh, okay, what's this one? A federal judge ruled that Washington state must share basic personal information, citizenship status, address, phone numbers, date of birth, about enrollees in Washington's Medicaid programs, Apple Health with ICE. I see absolutely nothing wrong with that. Shoplifters. Oh, South Center. Yeah, absolutely nobody's surprised by this. let's see. That was today. South Center, I used to work down there, which again, if you've ever been down there, I would say it's a mixture between the Upside Down and whatever's worse than the Upside Down is pretty much what South Center is. So, how was the episode of Stranger Things 5? Don't waste your time. Let's see. This I like seeing this. So again, going back to the Washington State on this fraudulent activity, I am so glad that people are starting to speak up about this because Washington State, and I'll give you one more example that I was thinking about the other day. Again, when this news about the fraudulent activity started kind of coming out, I remember during the last 4 years when pretty much we had an open border, and we had an open border where millions upon millions of illegals poured in without any sort of checks and balance. And living in Washington during that time, I remember going back and forth to work. You would just see buses. Now, this is alleged. Again, alleged on everything I'm saying. You would just see buses going back and forth everywhere, full of people, full of people. Just no, there was no logos, there was no tags. They were just blank white, blue, black buses full of people that were just driving back and forth on the freeways. And you just kind of know something was going on there. And again, I'm not saying anything specific in regards. It could just be a bus full of people that needed to get to the casino. I've seen it before. Snoqualmie Casino does actually have a bus that takes people from one city to the next. So maybe that was it. Could be. But I'm pretty sure you can kind of know, you can get where I'm going with it in relation to the fact that, I don't know, maybe it was just getting people from A to B. Could be that situation, especially when you have an open border and you're allowing millions of illegals into the country. Just my 2 cents, you know? Arnold getting his citizenship in 1983, which, by the way, this year I actually hopefully will be getting my official U.S. citizenship, currently in working status. So that will be pretty cool. I figured I was going to wait for America's 250th birthday year to do it, but I mean, what better time than now? So it's going to be fun. And oh yes, more stuff to see. Nice to see Tukwila taking crime seriously. It is actually. No, it really, really is to see finally they're starting to kind of do it because again, if you're not familiar with Washington, pretty much, let's just be blunt. Whoever this person is getting arrested will actually probably already out on the street right now because you can steal everything you want here, and the people that try to stop the criminals are the ones that get arrested and put in jail. So tell me I'm wrong. Let's see. Nothing really else. I don't even want to go into that right now. Yeah, Seattle put in from a mayoral aspect. It's basically Mondani Part 2. So that's yeah. That was pretty cool. I don't know if you guys saw this again. The monument, the Washington Monument. They kind of started off this candlelight thing for America's 250th birthday. So 2026, it's going to be interesting, let's be very, very clear. Don't really know what's going to happen, but I do respectfully and hopefully you will all have a great year, but yeah, we'll see what comes about. But last but not least, and then we'll wrap this video up. Obviously, like I said, most of these are not going to be this long, but I figured we would just kind of start it off with a bang, no pun intended, of course, being 2026. So here's some Instagram posts. Again, the Duffer Brothers considered giving Vecna a redemption arc in Stranger Things. They completely, what's the video game term when you kind of downgrade a player or a boss? Nerfed? Is that the word? I think that's the word. They completely nerfed Vecna. Season 4, they set him up to be a god. In this last episode, this last season, Vecna, not only did he get barely any screen time, he was completely nerfed to where pretty much Susie Q down the road could have beat his ass. It was that pathetic. So yeah. Oh yeah, this is the stuff I love. Again, I can't take credit for any of these because these are obviously random people online or AI. Let's be honest, it's probably AI too. If you think Minnesota's fraud is bad, wait till you hear about Ukraine. Holy shit, yeah. Oh god, I can only imagine the level of fraud that yeah. So again, watch this. It's on YouTube right now. Patrick David. Obviously, he has the kid, Nick Shirley, I believe is yeah. Great interview. He goes over the fact that now, put this. Thank God this kid has security because he is. I pray to God he doesn't get any harm towards him because that kid right now must be getting massive amounts of just threats and horribleness from people that something I will never understand is just the relationship between the fact that these people are exposing fraudulent activity, illegal immigration, et cetera, so on and so forth. And yet it's the ones that are exposing it that are getting the death threats, that are getting the horribleness and yada, 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 even though we're trying to literally help you. Even me. I mean, again, I know this is not a big channel. I've said it 1,000 times and I'll say it 1,000 times again in the future. I know this is not a big channel, doesn't reach a lot of people, but my goal, again, trying to do this every day is to maybe reach somebody to say, come on, step up, say something. Make 2026 that time. Make it now. Make 2026 the time where you step up and you say, no, this is not right. This is bullshit. This is not okay. This is not how we're supposed to be. When I hear complaints this and complaints that, you're right. We shouldn't be paying $4.50 a gallon for gas. We shouldn't be paying half of our paychecks to a government that is giving it away to fraudulent, illegal activity. So what are we gonna do about it? Because I can't do it all by myself. These other people who have far bigger channels than me can't do it by themselves. Wars have been fought over less. And again, to be clear, I'm not advocating for war. I don't want that shit to happen. I don't want people dying or violence, hatred, yada yada. I'm simply saying wars have been fought for less. So when are you gonna start saying enough is enough? This needs to stop. That time has passed, so it's time for you to step up now. Make 2026 that. And I promise you, not only will you feel better because since I've dropped all of the bullshit in my life, friends, family, the whole 9 yards, and I know that sounds really bad, but the level of relief that I have is astonishing. It truly is. And that's what I'll just leave you guys with that. I really do thank you for watching and listening. If you would be ever so kind, like I say, throw the likes, the comments, the subscribes. If you made it this far, as Nerdrotic says, I really do appreciate it. If you didn't, cool. Still love you anyway. But I hope you guys have a great year. I really do. Happy New Year's 2026. Go out and enjoy yourself. Have a blast. Make it a good one. And you know what we're going to try to do here as we roll out, as the Transformers would say. Let's see if I can do this properly. But seriously, thank you guys for watching. We will see you tomorrow, January 2nd, I think. Kind of, yeah, because it's technically January. Yeah, Friday, January 2nd. We'll see you guys then. Laters, y'all. Oh, no, it didn't work. See, let's try this again. Hold on. I think I know what I did wrong there. All right. We'll see you guys tomorrow, Friday, January 2nd. Laters, y'all.